Hi there, I'm Matt Wappett. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Persons with Disabilities at Utah State University. I'm making this video for Mental Health Awareness Month, the month of May. As I thought about it, and as I get older, I wish I could go back in time and visit with my grandpa. My grandfather was born and raised in southeast Idaho, right along the old Yellowstone Highway. He grew up raising sheep and cattle. He was proud to be a cowboy and a horseman. He was tall, dark, handsome, with thick curly hair that was always combed back, and a thin mustache that made him look more like a riverboat gambler than a cowboy. He grew up tough and independent. I remember one of the last times I talked with my grandpa before he passed away from heart failure. He began to open up about his struggles with depression, although he didn't really have the language to talk about it. He'd been raised in a culture where males didn't talk about emotions or mental health, and that culture, unfortunately, still pervades America today. I was also raised in a culture where I was taught to be strong, decisive, and independent. I grew up in Alaska within the hypermasculine culture of the 1980s and 1990s. All of the cultural messages I received communicated that I needed to be tough and emotionless. I needed to rely on myself and no one else. The movies I watched reinforced this stereotype. John Wayne's cool, decisive mannerisms, Han Solo's antisocial bravado, Indiana Jones' tough independence, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's multiple strong and violent characters were all idealized by my friends and I, and they were held up as models of what a man should be. It's difficult to talk about mental health as a male in the United States. American men are experiencing an epidemic of loneliness and emotional isolation. As an American male, we've been taught that we shouldn't need anyone, and that reaching out for help, especially with emotional or mental health issues, is a sign of weakness. As a result, many American males don't have the language to talk about their mental health struggles, and they don't know how to reach out for help when they're feeling isolated and alone. As a male, we're raised with an ideal of manhood that is completely unrealistic and unhealthy. And this stereotypical model of masculinity is exacting a terrible toll on men in the United States. In the media, we're used to hearing about how minorities are overrepresented in societal problems, but suicide is one exception to this pattern. Suicide in America disproportionately affects middle-aged men. According to the most recent statistics, approximately 132 Americans die by suicide each day, and 103 of them are men, or approximately 78%, with the ages of 45 to 64 represent the fastest growing group. Even more disturbing is the fact that the states with the highest rates of suicide are all in the Mountain Time Zone, with the exception of Alaska. Rates of suicide by middle-aged males in New Mexico, Alaska, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and Colorado are almost double the national rate, with Arizona, Nevada, and Utah just slightly less than that. It's ironic that these states with a strong, independent Western identity are the states where men are clearly struggling the most with managing their mental and emotional health. Over the past few years, I've had multiple acquaintances who have died by suicide because they weren't able to talk about their issues or get the help that they needed. This has made me much more aware of my own mental health and the fact that I need to talk about it and take active steps to maintain my own emotional well-being. Understanding my family's history with mental health issues and then taking care of my own mental health isn't something that I was explicitly taught. It's taken me years to figure out what I need to do to support myself. I've also been making efforts to talk about mental health with my family so that my children have the language they need to talk about their emotions and their needs. We visit about our family history, the emotional and behavioral patterns that we've inherited. My partner and I talk regularly about the things that we do to support our mental health so that our children understand that there are things they can do to take control of theirs. By talking about our emotional well-being, we are hopefully normalizing it and removing some of the stigma around mental health that is still so prevalent in our society. May is Mental Health Month, and I would like to encourage you to take some time to think about how you can more actively address your mental health this month. Find time to talk to your children about mental health so they know there's help available if they are sad, depressed, or anxious. We have a responsibility to teach our children that they can be resilient and gain strength from challenging life experiences. Addressing the mental health needs of our families, communities, and our country takes a concerted, collective effort, but together we can make a difference.